So if you're a subscriber of mine, you probably saw my video about the Chevrolet Cruze that achieved 40 miles to the gallon on a road trip I did, about 180 something miles. And if you're not a subscriber of mine, well, you should be. One of the things I've been told for the longest time about hybrid vehicles is they get better fuel mileage in the city and worse fuel mileage on the highway than a normal vehicle does. And this makes sense if you think about it, because the higher the vehicle speed is, the higher the wind resistance is. The higher the wind resistance, the lower the fuel mileage. And of course, the reason a non-hybrid vehicle does worse in the city fuel mileage wise is because whenever you hit the brakes, all that energy is just turning into heat and being dissipated into the air. It's wasted energy. Most normal vehicles also don't have the engine shut off. They don't have the auto start or stop feature like a hybrid does. The biggest reason a hybrid does so well in the city is because whenever you coast or apply the brakes, all that energy that would normally be wasted via heat in the brakes is regenerated into battery power. And that's what all this stuff is that you're seeing under the hood here. Any of these orange wire looms or orange wires are high voltage wires. Basically, they're warning you to exercise caution whenever you work around these things, because you may be dealing with 2, 3, even 600 volts of electricity. So the way this system works is whenever you hit the brakes, the electric motor becomes a generator and takes that energy from the rotating wheels and generates electricity, which is stored in the vehicle's battery. The only disadvantage with that is the trunk space is limited compared to the regular Ford Fusion. Despite the hybrid label on the car, you would never even know that this is a hybrid. That is, until you drive it. The first thing you notice when you start the vehicle is no starter and no engine noise. Even the remote start is pretty much silent. So why is that ready to drive message and the little green light down there up on the dash? Well, the reason being is because people might think that the vehicle literally is not starting. In fact, one of my coworkers actually got in one of these things not knowing it was a hybrid, and he said he kept pushing the start button but the thing wouldn't start. So they actually thought there was a problem with it, when in reality the vehicle's ready to drive, the engine just isn't running yet. This little portion of the dash over here is very addictive to watch. Basically what it does is it tells you how much power is being used from the engine and how much power is being used from your battery and your battery's level of charge. On the right are a few different options, including some funny efficiency leaves, alright, whatever, and your fuel history. Now this is basically a coach that tells you how well you're doing accelerating, braking, and cruising. Now this vehicle is brand new. It only has 85 miles on it. As you can see, I reset the trip when I first got the car, 82.4 miles, and 40.9 miles of that has been driven on electricity. Now my total driving time has been 4 hours. Obviously this is a lot of city driving, a lot of starting and stopping. But that's pretty good for mostly city driving. 32.3 miles per gallon and almost 4 hours of drive time over only 82.4 miles. But my question is still the same. How is this larger size car going to do compared to a Chevrolet Cruze that achieved 40 miles to the gallon on this trip that I'm about to take? So my plan is to make this series 2 different drives. The first drive is going to be speeds averaging 55 miles per hour. This is the Illinois trip that I took with the Chevrolet Cruze. I want to see how this vehicle is going to do fuel efficiency wise in comparison to a smaller car that is a non-hybrid. The second drive is going to be interstate speeds, averaging about 70 miles per hour. So I'm curious to see, how's this car going to do? Are we going to get better fuel mileage than a non-hybrid vehicle on the highway? How is this full-size car? I mean, that's a big car. That's not like a little economy car or anything. Cover up the hybrid label there on the door and you wouldn't even know that that's a hybrid vehicle. You'd think it's just a Fusion Titanium. but it's a hybrid. So how's this going to do? I think it's probably going to get about 40 or so. I would expect at least 40 out of the 50 mile per hour, averaging 55 mile per hour trip. That would be my guess for the average fuel mileage on this car. Now, when we bump it up to 70, I'm thinking we're probably going to see about 35. I don't think it's going to drop that much, but my predictions are 40 miles per gallon on the 55 mile per hour average trip and 35 miles per gallon on the 70 mile per hour average trip. Both of these trips are going to be anywhere between 160 and 180 miles. So this video here is like the introduction, how the car works, what I've understood, the way that I've seen hybrids behave in the past, and this is a full-size car. It's not a compact vehicle in any way. It's very streamlined, it's very aerodynamic, and it looks very good. So what do you guys think? Before watching the drives, let me know what you think it's going to do fuel mileage wise. So again, place your bets. Are we going to do better than the Cruise, or are we going to do worse than the Cruise? And then when we start averaging 70 miles per hour, what are we going to see in this thing? Is it going to be above 40 or below 40? So find out in the next two videos.